After our mother's tragic death, my father's new partner tormented my 5-year-old sister with so-called grief counseling and destroyed her most cherished possession. But when I began investigating her background, I uncovered something so dark it unraveled her entire existence. I was only 14 when I became a surrogate mother to my 5-year-old sister, Lily, after our mom was killed when a tree collapsed on her. I never had a moment to mourn because, as the eldest, I had to stay strong. At Mom's funeral, Lily clung to her teddy bear, Mr. Buttons, whispering that Mom's spirit lived inside it. While she grieved, I focused on keeping everyone together. Less than 5 months later, Dad introduced us to Diane, his new girlfriend. "She's a social worker," he said, his hand resting on her back. "She understands our pain." Diane surveyed our home like an appraiser sizing up a property, her gaze settling on Lily still clutching Mr. Buttons, with a cold glint behind her warm smile. "Poor little thing," Diane said, snatching the bear from Lily's grip to inspect it. My sister's soft cry tightened my chest. "So young to lose her mother," Diane added. Changes began immediately. Mom's pictures vanished first, supposedly to ease our healing. When Lily sobbed at the sight of bare walls where Mom's smile once hung, Diane gripped her shoulders tightly. "You can't fool me," she said. "You're trying to make me feel guilty, but you need to move on." I stayed silent, helping pack away Mom's things while anger simmered inside me. Speaking up risked worse punishment from Diane. "You're so grown up," Dad would say, oblivious to Diane's hold over Lily. "Diane says you're handling this remarkably well." But Diane's grief exercises were cruelty disguised as care. She'd lock Lily in her room for silent reflection when she cried for Mom, force-feed her when she refused food, prying her mouth open. "Grieving isn't starving," Diane would say with a saccharine tone as Lily choked. Once I caught her stealing Mr. Buttons from Lily's sleeping arms, forcing her to earn him back by repeating, "Diane is helping me heal," 10 times flawlessly. I kept up my perfect daughter facade but spent nights comforting a trembling Lily. "Why does Diane hurt me?" she'd whisper. "Be good for Dad," I'd reply, hating myself for the lie. "She's trying to help." But when Diane began making Lily stand in corners for excessive crying, I knew this wasn't help. It was something sinister. Dad saw nothing, too caught up in wedding plans until Mom's birthday neared. She would have been 39. Every year, Mom took Lily to visit her grandparents' graves, letting her choose flowers and share stories. "I want to take Lily this year," I told Dad at breakfast, wanting to honor the tradition. Diane's coffee cup froze midair. "Actually, I've booked Lily with Dr. Morrison that day," she said, her smile sharp. "Intensive therapy for her unhealthy fixations. The teddy bear obsession stops today." "The cemetery helps her feel close to Mom," I argued. "Your mother is gone," Diane snapped. "Your sister's delusions are unhealthy." "Diane knows what's best," Dad mumbled, avoiding my gaze. I tried again. "Please, just one afternoon." Diane leaned in close. "I'm doing this because I care about you," she said, her tone laced with menace. "Don't force me to push harder." The warning was unmistakable. That afternoon, I returned to find Lily sobbing, her face swollen from tears, clutching Mr. Buttons. "Give him back," she begged Diane repeatedly. Then I smelled it, something burning. Behind them, a small fire crackled, built from kindling. "A cleansing ritual," Diane declared, her voice thick with fake empathy. "Lily needs to release her attachments." "Please," Lily and I whispered as she held Mr. Buttons tighter. "Mommy's inside him." Diane's expression flickered. "That's exactly why he must go." She tore the bear from Lily's arms. When my sister lunged, Diane pushed her back hard. Lily fell, grass staining her dress, screaming, not crying but a raw, guttural scream like her soul was being ripped apart. "Watch closely," Diane said, holding the bear over the flames. "This is healing." The stuffing charred and curled. Lily's scream stopped abruptly, her mouth open but silent, staring at the fire. 3 days later, Lily hadn't spoken or eaten. Diane's response was to shake her. "Enough with the theatrics," she snapped, slapping her face. "Speak when I talk to you." That morning, I saw Diane forcing food into Lily's mouth, her fingers bruising her cheeks. "Swallow or you'll sit here all day." That's when I snapped. "You're torturing her, you're not healing anyone, you're erasing Mom to take her place." Diane's slap came swiftly. Dad restrained me as she locked me in my room. I kicked the door until my feet bled, then escaped through the window. I found Lily in her room, nearly lifeless, and carried her to Dad's car. I drove, unlicensed, to Aunt Sarah's house. I didn't know it yet, but Sarah was about to reveal something that would change everything. Sarah opened the door before I knocked, her face ashen. She pulled us inside, glancing nervously at the street before locking the door. I laid Lily on the couch while Sarah grabbed blankets. My sister hadn't moved or spoken since I'd taken her from that room, her eyes fixed on some distant point. Sarah touched Lily's forehead gently, then looked at me with a mix of fear and recognition. She retrieved a wooden box from her bedroom, Mom's old keepsake box for important documents. My phone buzzed incessantly. Diane's messages started concerned, then turned threatening, warning of kidnapping charges and claiming I was having a breakdown. I silenced the phone and ignored them. Sarah opened the box, revealing a leather journal in Mom's handwriting. My heart ached at the familiar script. She pointed to a passage dated 3 weeks before Mom's death. As I read, with Lily rocking silently beside me, the words chilled me. Diane asked about the life insurance during her hospice visits last year. Why does my hospice worker need to know about our finances? The phone rang. Sarah put it on speaker, and Dad's voice came through, but the words sounded scripted, like Diane was feeding them to him. He demanded we return home, using phrases like therapeutic boundaries that echoed Diane's jargon. The doorbell rang mid-call. Sarah peeked through the curtain, signaling silence. It was Martha, the neighbor, bringing soup. She'd been a nurse and had treated Mom's anxiety attacks during recovery, attacks that began when Diane became her hospice worker. I flipped through more of Mom's journal as Martha spoke. Mom had noted every instance of Diane accessing her medical files without permission, even after Mom's remission ended her need for hospice care. Lily's hand twitched, the first movement in hours. Loud pounding on the door interrupted us. Diane's voice, syrupy but sharp, called out about our well-being. Sarah gestured to stay still. Through the peephole, I saw Diane with Dad, but what made my blood run cold was her lifting his arm to knock, like he was her marionette. Sarah called her brother Tom, a lawyer, and put him on speaker. He urged us to document everything, suggesting we record if possible. Sarah grabbed an old camcorder from her closet. I filmed through the peephole as Diane's demands grew louder, her polite facade cracking. Lily suddenly grabbed my hand, her first real reaction since the bear burning, triggered by Diane's yelling. I kept recording while skimming Mom's journal. She'd written about other patients, 3 young mothers who'd survived cancer, all assigned to Diane, all dead in accidents. Outside, Dad began sobbing, his voice raw, not the hollow tone of recent months. But Diane yanked him away from the door. Through the peephole, I saw her face twist with rage. They left, but I knew they'd return. The next morning, my friend Emma texted that Diane had visited her house, telling her parents I was having a psychotic episode. I found an old text from Mom, sent 2 days before the tree fell. If anything happens to me, keep Diane away from Lily. She keeps asking about that old tree in the yard. Sarah showed me the neighborhood's social media group, where Diane had posted about a missing, troubled teen with my school photo, prompting concerned comments. My phone rang, Miss Chen, my teacher. Sarah explained briefly. Miss Chen said Diane had called the school, claiming I was unstable and dangerous. We needed help, but Diane had already turned people against us. Sarah tried contacting Carl, the HOA president, but he brushed her off. Diane was a beloved volunteer at the community grief group. I couldn't stay confined at Sarah's. While she and Martha watched Lily, I snuck out to the library, hood up, head down. On a library computer, I searched Diane's name. Her LinkedIn showed 4 home health agencies in 5 years, each job ending after a patient's death. Mrs. Park, the librarian and Mom's childhood friend, slid me a stack of obituaries. Young mothers, cancer survivors, all dead in accidents, all under Diane's care. Back at Sarah's, her book club friends mentioned seeing Diane at the store, asking about me and hinting I was a compulsive liar. I noted everything in Mom's journal margins. Diane's car circled the block every 2 hours like a predator stalking prey. That evening, Martha shared that her daughter died when her stairs collapsed, shortly after cancer remission. Diane had been her hospice nurse too. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad's number, but the words were Diane's, begging me to come home, claiming she could help Lily if I stopped interfering. The next day, I met Emma at McDonald's, a public but crowded spot. She looked uneasy, admitting Diane had offered her mom free counseling in exchange for reporting my whereabouts. Emma chose loyalty to me, but it showed Diane's growing web of control. As we talked, Diane entered, holding flyers with my photo and the word missing in bold. The flyers listed signs of a mental health crisis and Diane's number. I slid down in the booth. Emma stood, blocking Diane's path, loudly claiming she was meeting her boyfriend and pointing to the opposite side of the restaurant. I slipped into the bathroom, locking myself in a stall as Diane's voice grew louder, questioning customers about me. A soft knock came, not on my stall, but the one beside it. A young man, Jose, whispered he worked in the kitchen. His mother had died in a suspicious fall, with Diane as her hospice worker. He slid a paper under the divider, a sketch of the restaurant with a back exit marked through the kitchen. He said Diane was still at the front, methodically searching. I waited, then darted through the chaotic kitchen, steamy, loud, with Jose nodding toward the exit. I escaped to the alley. Emma met me at Sarah's back gate, confirming Diane had left McDonald's empty-handed. She handed me a flyer Diane had distributed, urging people to call her if they saw me. Inside, Sarah was on the phone with Tom, who was alarmed by Mom's journal, citing premeditation indicators. He asked for photos of pages where Mom noted Diane's odd focus on our property, especially the oak tree, suggesting an arborist inspection she'd tried to arrange herself. I found the entries. Mom wrote about Diane bringing a man to inspect the tree without permission, measuring and discussing angles. Sarah showed me police and insurance reports. The tree that killed Mom had been deemed healthy by an arborist 6 months prior. No rot, no weakness. Tom suggested checking neighbors' security footage from the time of Mom's death. Martha, knowing the block, volunteered to ask. She returned with news. The Hendersons, 3 houses down, had footage from the week Mom died, saved after a car vandalism. We watched grainy video on Sarah's laptop. At 2:17 a.m., 3 nights before the accident, a car stopped at our house. Diane's unmistakable gait appeared with a man carrying tools. They spent an hour at the tree's base, Diane holding a flashlight while he worked. They left before 3:30 a.m. Tom called it evidence, urging us to back it up. I wanted to confront Diane, but Tom warned we needed more. A single video wasn't enough for murder. Martha contacted her grief group, and 3 women agreed to meet us. Carol's daughter died in a basement stair collapse, Linda's from a falling bookshelf, and Patricia's from a strange gas leak. All young mothers, all post-cancer remission, all under Diane's care. Carol's daughter had saved emails showing Diane's intrusive questions about their home and routines. Emma's mom called, now suspicious of Diane's free counseling offer. I started an anonymous blog with Tom's help, posting Mom's journal entries about Diane. Comments flooded in from others with similar stories. Diane's invasive questions, suspicious accidents. The pattern was undeniable. Diane targeted young mothers with substantial life insurance, using hospice visits to gather information, staging fatal accidents later.